Namaste. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to Sarah and Gerald. So nice to have you here. Welcome. Okay, so hello, Anna Luisa. Welcome. My name is Sadhana, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I am an intuitive reader, healer, yoga instructor. And Tuesday mornings, I am coming on to look at little nuances and details of the cards to help you not only make your readings a little bit more fluid and easier, but also there's these subtleties. And, I was really thinking about this before I came on this morning, and I've had some really powerful readings come up over the last 24 hours. And when we go to the tarot, we start looking at the cards. One of the things that is a temptation for the longest time is that pull to go to the meanings of the little white book that came with the cards, those first meanings that you associated with the cards when you first started learning tarot. But the tarot is there to reflect your life, to reflect your story, not the story that's in the little white book. And I am a firm believer that the deck that you picked up today is the perfect deck for you. And the cards that you laid down on the table are the cards that are going to tell your story. The cards are never wrong. And my first and best piece of advice to everyone is to trust that. And if you lay down some cards and your immediate reaction is, oh, just to leave them and to walk away and come back, because it will make sense over time. There's this need for patience in reading the tarot. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining us this morning. And so as we begin to explore the Suit of Cups, and we have looked at some of these cards before, so, this discussion is ongoing, and that's part of my method in my madness behind this particular series is that I do want to revisit the same cards over and over in different combinations, so we can really start to tap into that. I think last week we looked at 2 of the 4s, and today we have one of those same 4s coming up again. So let's go to the cards, and I want to so today I want to make sure I'm doing the right ones. I've got to look at the title, 4, 5, and 8 of Cups. I put a lot of cups on my table here. So here you go. Here's my table. Hopefully we got there. And I'm going to use some of the same decks that I used last time. So 4, 5, and 8 of Cups. In this comparison today, we're looking at quite a range of cards. So we're looking at one of the cards that I consider little, and one of the cards that I often call a bridge or a transition card, and then one of the cards that is up a lot higher in the numbers, in the numerology. And so these are important considerations. When you're dealing with little numbers, you are dealing with smaller stuff and fewer things, right? So sometimes little numbers are just about fewer people, fewer objects. And as we go up in the increase of numbers, we get to more people, more emotions. And there's always people involved in the tarot. And because the people in our life reflect our life. And so it could very well be that there's 4 people involved. Oh, I'm just sorry, I have the right card there. There could very well be that there's 4 hearts involved in the issue around the 4 of Cups. It could very well be involved in each of these numbers. And so just being aware of the quantity can sometimes really, really help us in understanding. And I want to look across these cards today to really not look at them in isolation. And that's another really important piece of advice, is to not, you can do 1 card draws, but they just don't really, really serve. It's so much better if we have more information on the table, because the tarot loves to tell a story. And Nancy asks if the lower numbers are more formative. I'm not formative. Perhaps, Nancy, perhaps that's one word that you can use. They're definitely, when I think of that, I think of more of a youthful energy as well too. So earlier on in our lives. But one of the things that's important to remember is that we do come back again and again and again to the same issues. And every time that we come back, we are formed a little differently. So our formation, our emotions, our experiences begin to grow and to level up through every year and every time that we cycle back. And we don't always recognize the story. We don't always recognize the issue as the same issue that we're coming back to. We do tend to come back again and again and again to the same old thing. So let me just get a few cards on the table here, and then we'll really start to dive into this. And 8 of Cups. I thought I had it on the table. Okay, I'll shuffle through and find it. It should be right here. Maybe not. Okay. So what I want to, this is a really good example. So let's just throw this 2 of Cups down on the table. The 2 of Cups it's a really big card, and the 2s are really important numbers. They are our first experience with the other and with relationship. And all of the 2s teach us about relationship. They teach us about the other. They hold up the mirror card. And 2s come back quite frequently into our lives. I think some of the numbers come back more frequently than others. And of course, that's going to depend on your karma and your personal patterns and all of that. And I understand you don't all kind of, here's the 8. We don't all kind of believe in how the drama of our lives all works together the same way. But these patterns that we repeat over and over slightly change. And so to me, formative has a definitive meaning to it, Nancy. And I feel that there's more of a fluidity and an expansiveness to each time we return to parts of this journey. Okay, so the smaller numbers, I believe, are more connected to our worldly experience. Let's say that. Our worldly experience. They're more connected and more affected by what's happening in our day-to-day. So for example, here in the 4 of Cups, we're more affected by the mood of our friends, what happened at school, what happened at work, who did or didn't phone us, the tone of the text message. The 4 of Cups to me is the 4 and the 3 and the 2 are very, I don't want to say that they're mundane, because our experiences that we have in this day-to-day existence are significant and they're important and they're reflecting something much greater. But they're definitely it's important when you get those 3s and the 2s and the 4s to look at what just happened right now. So remember that when we're dealing with the minor arcana, and I know you've heard, these are the little secrets. These are the everyday things that go on. And especially when we're under the 5, we're looking at lower numbers as, just start making a list of everything that's happened so far in your day today. Who has crossed your path on the phone? Who's crossed your path in emails? Maybe there's been something that came in the post, in the snail mail. Maybe there have been people that you've seen out your window, or you've watched other YouTube videos that you have been affected by. And so this bombardment of stimulation, this bombardment to our senses is very, very much affects the shadowy side of the lower cards. And when I'm working with clients and I'm working with lots of low numbers, I know we really, really need to start to tap into exercises and practices that are going to help deal with this stress, the stress of everyday life. And so when I see the four, I really feel the Four of Cups. So with the cups, we're dealing with, of course, emotions. We're dealing with patterns that have bothered us our whole life. We're dealing with things that come up on a regular basis. And so I see this four as very, very real. I don't ever really tap into the four as something that is, happened 7 years ago or 8 years ago. And maybe that's a little nugget into this. So the fours are recent and repeating. Recent and repeating. And the same with the threes and the twos. They're recent and they're repeating energy. They're familiar. So, Nancy, I like the word familiar better than formative. And so when we come back and when we cycle back to these same stories and experiences over and over, there's always this familiar flavor. I feel like I've been here before. Well, you have. You've been here again and again. So in cups, we are looking at things that really stimulate our emotions. And I'm not just talking about the heart. Okay, so any kind of energy that's moving through the body, our emotions, our stress affects our digestion. It affects the way we think. It affects the way we sleep. Emotions are hugely, hugely powerful. And so how this Four of Cups is showing up in your life could be it might not be in your heart space. It could be showing up anywhere on your physical body. When we're talking about the heart, we're talking about the skin, the hands, just the general, however stress reflects in your life. And this is a card of stress. We talked about this last week. The stress of the four is created by the restriction of the structure, right? So when we get that square shape and we start to restrict the energy, we restrict the emotions, and we don't let the water flow, it starts to, depending on its temperature, right? So look at the fire cards around, looking at the temperature of that water, it might start to boil. It wants to erode, it wants to break through, it wants to burst through the structure, that restriction of the four. Maybe there's rules that have been imposed, should haves. You should have done this. You could have done this. You would have done this. So whatever that structure, and often it's self-imposed, that four wants to move so badly. And if the person is you or the person is across the table from you, sometimes they don't have the tools or the insight to realize that all you got to do is stand up. You got to get your butt off the ground, get up from that tree, turn around, hug that tree, turn around, say hi to that person or spirit or energy that's handing you that other cup over there. Okay, so let's go to Nancy's comment here. I've heard that the Four of Cups shows a growing relationship or feeling has reached a stable moment, which can become boring or reassuring. Okay, so stability is a huge keyword for the fours. So when we come into a relationship and things become perhaps really comfortable, right? We need fewer words in our communication. We kind of know how people move. We know their routines, and things get easy, they get comfortable. But yes, there's a need. There's a need for, stimulation. There's a need for movement. And so this doesn't have to be heavy, that the Four of Cups is about some kind of depression or serious mental health illness. This can just simply be, oh my God, we need to bust out of these four walls and go climb a mountain. We need to move. We need to get going here. Okay. There's a whole range of experiences that this Four of Cups could be out about. When I think about Four of Cups, may I show that moment when comfort turns into a rut? Exactly, Ana Luisa. And like I said, this doesn't have to be super serious. It's a card that's kind of like, all right, let's shift things, let's move, let's emotions, right? We need to feel the wind on our skin. We need to feel the touch of another person. We can't just communicate by email. We need to go and maybe there's got to be somebody that we can touch and we can reach out in a more physical way. We need to change our environment. So there's really something about that. And even though the person in this card is in this beautiful, beautiful situation, often outside behind a tree in nature, it's not raining. It's not raining. They're just stuck. They're just stuck there and they've forgotten to move. So let's look at the Lily White Tarot for a second before we go on to the 5. Hi, Diana. All right. So in the Lily White Tarot, this, for those of you that aren't familiar with these decks, this is, and these are the only 3 decks I'm using today. This Might Hurt, Light, Seers, and Lily White. I love that in this deck there's another moon as well here too. We can see these moon shapes in different phases in this card. So we know we're connected to lunar energy as well too. This can also reflect anything to do with, any associations to do with the moon, right? So when we're especially moved by a deck that has moons on the card, look to moon cycles and everything that is around you. This lotus that is blooming here in this particular cup, it's really interesting. Look at how both the light, all of them actually, they all have, I love this. Okay, I didn't even notice when I put this down. So here, the cup is being offered into the right hand. Here we have the light. Okay, this is on the left hand. I love this actually. And here, depending on how you're looking at it, you could also speak to right and left. Depending on the person you're reading for, that might be really important because it might be the left side that needs to be energized, might be the right side that needs to be energized. But what I'm really liking in this particular deck is that the cup is being offered from the right hand to the right hand, from the active side to the active side. I just like these little nuances, and I can really speak to that. In this particular card, the singing bowl that's lighting up is on the intuitive side, on the left side. And you know what? I might even speak to that in a reading as well too, because what I said earlier, you choose a certain deck on a certain day, and that's going to maybe have a little bit more meaning for you. So with the 4 of Cups, there has been some kind of slowing down, and that slowing down might have created some kind of comfort. And there is that stability. And when I'm looking at this particular one here, this is a lot of singing bowls. Why do we need so many singing bowls? Maybe the night before there was a circle, and there was a sound circle, and maybe the energy was just too intense as well too. And the intensity within the energy of this 4, it just needs to go somewhere. I'm just feeling it's just it's just so important to remember the 4s. This not only strong and stable and secure and safe, but in this particular card, it's just got to go. It wants to go. It does not want to stay there. And so if we look at the transition from the 4 to the 5, okay. And I don't necessarily see the 4 to the, in the story of the minor arcana, there is, in each of the suits, there is a sequence, there is a growing of energy, but there's also relationships between other cards. And when you look at the 5 of Cups, you can't help but be reminded of the 2 of Cups and the 3 of Cups, right? 2 plus 3. and the energy of the 2 and the 3. And sometimes I forget about this, and depending on the deck. So I'm not going to see it so much probably in the light seers, but I definitely see it here in the Lily White Tarot with these 3 cups here and the 3 cups that have been spilled. It's almost like the party and the celebration in the 3 of Cups went sideways. Or perhaps it felt a bit excessive. Maybe, I don't know, something might have gone wrong in the 3 of Cups. And wouldn't that be interesting if the 3 of Cups showed up in the reading? So maybe this particular, if I was going in this direction, it might be a message about leaning into your partner as opposed to, being with your partner as opposed to your your social life in the community. Sometimes we can really make this simple. Like turn around and stay home and be with the one who loves you. You don't need to be out partying all the time. There could be something in that, right? And how often would you speak to that in the 5 of Cups? So the 5 of Cups generally feels melancholy. It's kind of sad. And in a traditional deck, often this person is looking back to home. So there's something about home. There's something about a place or something that is being left. And maybe this is where the party was. There is a river here. How did these cups get over here? What are these cups doing over here? I love asking these kinds of questions. How did this guy get over the river? We do see the bridge here, but is this figure going back home, or is this person looking back at home? And the only way we can know the answer to that question is by the surrounding cards and by the question that was asked. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of asking a question. I really struggle personally with, what is my energy for the week? What does Spirit want me to know for the week? If you're struggling with your readings, start asking more specific questions. The questions are going to help you, and it's going to make things a lot easier because the tarot wants to tell you a story. And so make it easier by providing a topic sentence. You can't write a novel, you can't write a story if you don't have a plot, a theme, right? You need to have characters involved. All right, let's go back to the chat here. We've got lots of good comments here. So let's go to, so many. I'm loving your comments. Are those singing bowls or food being served? Good question. Good question. Because singing bowls might be associated with the element of air. And I want to keep coming back to this whole emotions thing in this suit. The suit of cups is tapping into emotions, right? So energy in motion. The emotions need to keep moving. The energy that's moving through the body. And we tend to just be in the heart space, but energy and emotions fill up every part of our soul. They fill up every part of our physical body. And so this is another thing why I want to really keep in mind all of the senses when I'm looking at the suit of cups. Gerald says the 4 of Cups could be a rest before moving on. Yes, so that could be the 4 of Cups could definitely be that pause, the pause before you decide to stand up and move. And this would be reflected in sequential numbering in the reading. And so always look to sequences in the reading. Maybe with those 3 cups broken in the 5, it can signify a broken friendship too. So the broken friendship, if we're going to get, to quite literal meanings in the tarot, the broken friendship would be, something that went wrong or a misunderstanding, or some kind of a feeling that was not misunderstood in, and I want to say more than two people, because there's 3 cups there. There's triangulation there. And it could refer to, just simply more. Like, it's not about one thing. It's either about more people or more emotions. Hello through Integrative Lens. I don't know why my thing is so small here. Let me see if I can make this bigger so I can read all of your comments. Love your interpretation for needing energy on some side of the 4 of Cups. I recently got it and was clarified by Temperance, and that makes so much sense now. Temperance is a really great card to come up when we're dealing with this particular emotion. And then Ana Luisa talks about the river, the flow of life, right? They seem to talk about natural change and second chances of succeeding even after some failures. So the metaphor of the river is huge, right? We can really lean into that, right? The river is flowing. And so when we go from the 4 to the 5 in a traditional deck, we see the energy starting to move. We can't really see which way the river is flowing in this one, but these cups are in random directions. Right, so that the water has started to flow. In the Light Seers Tarot, we have some kind of a magical energy here. It almost looks like a vortex is being created. Something is being stimulated here. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like magic. And is this person gazing towards it? Yeah, she's focused on it. It's almost as if she is creating this. And another thing I see here, I don't know if I've ever read the guidebook for this particular card. I see an egg here as well, too. I see a seed, an egg, a pearl, perhaps. Something is being created. Something is growing. And if she can focus her energy and keep that energy focused and moving on that pearl, or whatever you want to call that, in the center, it will continue to grow into something beautiful, rather than, because this is where her focus is not on these 3 cups. And there's something really powerful that is happening here at her right hand. So with the 5, we can go in a few different directions, but this is definitely a transition. And I love that we get a bridge in the traditional card. The 5s are bridging cards, right? The 5s are bridges. They take us to the higher numbers. And so we move. They're cards of transition. So look for wheel cards, look for knights, look for cards of movement, because these are the cards. The 5 gets us going out of the rut of the 4. And there's a rut in all of the 4s, a potential rut. The 4s can be safe and beautiful and homey and comforting when we need them. But because the 5s are generally challenging, especially if you get a few 5s, we want to acknowledge that this is movement out of the rut and moving forward. Gerald says, I always think the 5s are the first time in the tarot that I have something to lose. Okay. And that's really a hard thing about the 5s, because in order to move forward, we can't take everything with us. In order to, so if we're literally moving, right? So we're literally moving and we're moving through something, we have to choose. We have to choose what we're going to take. And there's choices throughout all of the cards. And as we progress through the journey, we want to become lighter and lighter and lighter, not heavier and heavier and heavier. And you see that happening in the shadow of some of the higher number cards, is that we chose to get heavier instead of lighter. If each of the minor arcana is a path to enlightenment. We want to lighten the load as we move through, right? So in the Six of Cups, we don't want to dwell on the photo albums and the trinkets and the stuff and the sentimental treasures of the past. Yes, pick one teacup, pick one love letter, pick one piece of jewelry and keep it with you. But you don't need the whole antique heirloom from the inheritance, or whatever the issue is in the reading. We want to get lighter. We want to get lighter and keep moving. We want the energy to keep moving. We want to be focusing on our wellness and ultimately our balance, because the tarot is going to help us to find our path back to our balance, our path back to happiness in our career, happiness in our love life, lightness and freedom in all aspects of our life. Okay, so here we are with a choice of what we're going to take and what we're not going to take. Yeah, so that's an interesting perspective, Gerald. Let's go to Nancy. In Light Seers, 5 of Cups is draining of life force into a void like a black hole. It came up for me to show how we lose our energy on social media and when we go down that rabbit hole. That's really beautiful. I like that, the emotional rabbit hole of social media. Just think about how much our emotions are attached to social media. If you are on a dating app, and you go and you check and see if there's any likes, or if you are looking at Instagram, how many likes or hearts, that your photo got, or same on Facebook. Like, there's an emotional attachment to social media, and it's draining. It does. It drains our energy, and we all know what happens when you sit down at the computer, right? It's just like this. It's exactly like that. It is a vortex of energy. And this, what you just said through Integrative Lens, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. If you'd like me to know your name, can you put it into the chat, please? It reminds me of Nari Anastasia. She has a card, it's a blue-green card. I can see it. It's called Virtual Fog. It's either in, what are her decks called? I use them all the time. The blue-green decks, the Cosmic card and the Nari Anastasia, one of her Oracle decks. Anyway, and it has a very similar color to this. Okay. So on the positive side, what I want to say about the 5s is that when the 5s show up, let's just read Gerald's other comment at IT Guy. 5s also remind me that this is part of purification, and there is a way to get through the challenges of the 5s. So I think you did tell me. How am I going to remember this? Vanishka. Thank you. When the 5s show up, it's like Spirit is saying to you, you've got this. You've got this. It's time. It's time to stand up and to do something and to move and to act, because the 5s want us to act, right? A lot of the 5s are very active and fiery, and they want us to move. And there's not so much action in the 5 of Hearts, but in the 5 of Swords and the 5 of Wands, there's action. In order to progress, in order to move forward, we have to do something about it, okay? And there is this component of where is your focus? So where is your focus going to be? Find your focus and then go, and then stand up and then move. And then when we get to the 8, there's no turning back. We've made that decision. We know that in the 8, there is absolutely no question of not moving. of not going and of not leaving something behind. And the difference between the 5 and the 8 is the investment, the emotional investment. We have, I love this. Okay, there is, I wish I could, I'm in this relatively new relationship, and I've been watching all this relationship stuff on YouTube. That's my rabbit hole. And so one of the things one of these guys says is that and this really applies to this card, is that what we invest into a relationship, it's really important to observe what we invest into a relationship. We shouldn't invest more than our return. So here's another thing. So we're talking about social media a second ago. So go to your phone and look at your text pattern with somebody, and to see if that conversation is balanced, or if your messages are, longer, and the ones on the other side are just short little one-word things. Like, look at the investment of energy. And in the 8 of Cups, we've realized that our investment is way more than what we are receiving. And so we need to let that go. It's a big shift. It's a big shift. And I talked about the light in this deck, in this card. There's something about the pull. There is a pull. And if there were ever a deck that made you want to commit to something deeper and something more, like stepping on your spiritual journey and so forth, I really feel like this card has the potential. I really feel like these people are heading off to something much, much bigger. We see the light, right? We see the light, the moonlight that's reflected here on this pathway, almost like as if we're being guided by a higher power. And like I was saying, as we move up through the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we are advancing on our journey. And this is nothing like the 5. You can't even compare this to the 5. The 5 is very close to our material, worldly experience. The 8 is not. The 8 is very, very close to our something deeper and very personal, right? There's something really, it's a gift. I feel that this 5 is a gift. I need to say Vanishka multiple times here to remember your name, Vanishka. It's a very beautiful name, hey? It also reminds me how we keep telling the same story again and again with the 5 of Cups. So here's another thing that might help. And this comes through one of my yoga teachers. So the question is, how do we know when we have moved through something? How do we know when we're done with it? And you can fill that in with whatever relationship or emotional experience. And it's something that comes up in your dreams. And maybe you've had a recurring dream that has come up over and over and over again. I used to have them about waiting tables. I used to have nightmares about waiting tables. And I forget what year they finally stopped. But we all have these dreams, or these people that come back and haunt our dreams. And the test that my teacher says is if you can share your story, and maybe it's quite a sad story, maybe there's some emotion about health, maybe you had cancer, or maybe you lost a loved one, or there was a death. And if you're able to share your story from a place of wanting to teach, to let your experience inform others, to help others see a bigger picture, right? So that's your intention. And if you can tell your story and it doesn't, you don't feel the tingles on your skin, you don't feel the emotions start to arise in your throat, then you know you've moved on. But if you can't tell your story without that emotion, you are still in the process. So that would mean that you are still in the 5 of Cups. Right? You're not in the 8 and 9 of Cups. I think that's a really good test. It's a really good test to see where we're at emotionally with something. And our emotions are so connected to um, our access, right? Our access to our subconscious. The higher we are up in the suit of cups, the easier it is to process the things that are coming up from the subconscious, those things that are on the surface we are ready to process. We don't see them clearly in the lower cards. It's harder to see them. Okay. All right. So yes, let's look at this as double fours. So when we have multiple cards on the table, and Gerald makes a really good point here. So if we had fours on the table, that would also be a signal to look at the pattern of four, and the four as a double eight, and building of structure, building of foundation. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Gerald. Yeah, it's a really powerful test. So if we look at four and building that foundation, what you're saying here, Gerald, this reminds me of, it's like the Daruma doll, those dolls, right? You knock them over and they come back up. They keep coming back up. We keep getting stronger. And I've said this multiple times, the power of the lemniscate. Yes, we repeat this pattern over and over, but each time that's nuanced. We're slightly stronger. We know a little bit more. And I believe if we're in an 8, we're getting a little bit wiser. We need to keep that level of humility, but it's the 5 and the 8 are so different, so very, very different in the way that I see them. I see a new face here. H. Radicki. Hello, welcome. 5 of Cups is my favorite card, and people often say 5s are bad in a reading. I disagree. I think 5s are agents of change and a permission. Exactly, Radicki. They are, they're and supported by the wheel, like I said, supported by the wheel, the knights, the 8 of Wands, any of these cards that are going to get you moving. The 5s are like, oh God, thank you. I have permission to go forward, go forward and conquer and get back on my path. That's what I almost feel like the 5s are. Get back on your path. And by the time you get to the 8, you finally decided, okay, yeah, here I go. Here I go. I am a brave spiritual warrior, and I'm going to get back on my path and get on my journey again. And Radicki is Heather. Okay. Oh my goodness. You know what I need is I need a personal assistant to write down everybody's name. I don't even have I need to find a blank page in this book that's on my table. Here we go. I'm going to write this down. I would love to have that, somebody that could help me with all of that. And okay, so Heather, I would love to be that point where I could do that. And Vanishka. Vanishka is through Integrative Lens. Well, you have one word in common with me, so I should remember that, you'd think. And if I forget your names, I apologize. Okay. Hey there, Candy. Welcome to you. Okay, so does that help? We have, so I want to sum this up. So Cups. Yes, Cups is about love. It's often about love, but what is love? What is love but emotion? Love is about love is an integration of a lot of experiences. And in this particular suit, I definitely want to be aware of all of the senses. I want to check in with the stress level and how myself, if I'm doing it for myself, or the client is feeling. Like I want to ask about, are you tired? Do you have any rashes? How are you managing your stress? Because emotions and stress are so interconnected. And so I want to check in with that and have a conversation if they're open to it. I mean, some people just sit down there, or the tarot people, and say, okay, prove this to me. What is my future? I hate those kind of readings. I really like to get real with people and help them on their path. So emotions, let's get the energy moving. Let's talk about how energy is moving through your body. How's your digestion? I often ask people that. How's your digestion? It's a really good question, and that'll tell you if the energy is moving or not. Right? Got a lot of force? Chances are the client's constipated, and I'm not kidding. And it might not be a physical constipation, but there's going to be some constipation somewhere. So look to the physical body. Don't be afraid to ask questions about people's. And it's not that you're going to do a medical reading. It's just a clue, right? It's a layer because we carry this energy in the physical body. So the emotions, the energy of the cups manifests in lots of places besides the heart space. Okay, right? It can manifest anywhere in the body. So that's one thing. And then the whole idea about the stuff before the bridge and the stuff after the bridge has quite a different feeling to it. Okay, get back on your path a little lighter than before, part of the journey through the suit and life. Okay, so this is a big one. So yes, definitely for sure, they are samskaras. So our samskaras are our patterns that we carry through lifetime to lifetime. Now, samskaras are not always shadowy. Sometimes samskaras are, we carry positive light samskaras because we are a light worker, because we have light to share. And so this could go on. I could talk for hours about this, and I do have live readings at 12. So I'm going to kind of summarize this and then leave you for today. So the samskaras live, the karmic patterns and the samskaras live in the second chakra. Okay, the second chakra is the Swadhisthana chakra, the sacral chakra. This is, if you think about this as the womb, the waters of the womb, this is the energy of Devi. This is the energy of the divine goddess of Shakti. This is where our feminine energy is at home, right? So this is the home of Devi, the home of Shakti. And so this is where we are birthed into this world. So this is naturally where our samskaras come through. They come through in the waters. When we come to the tarot, we tend to think about the water as here. And the emotions and the waters and the patterns that are connected to the samskaras are this is a big conversation. They're at a very raw level. Okay, so emotion is very raw. A lot of things are misunderstood. There's also so many dynamics in this second chakra medicine. And yes, through Integrative Lens, Vanishka, I talk about this with clients all the time. And one-on-one with people, that's a lot easier because I can be looking at their particular situation. But what we have in the heart space is issues of integration of the lower three chakras and the upper three chakras. And so it gets really, really complicated. And I was trying to keep this a little simpler, but yes, totally agree with you that the samskaras come through in the waters of the cups. Yes. I am going to design a course, and I've actually offered it before, but I didn't teach it in conjunction with tarot. This is when I was just teaching it through a yogic perspective, where we focus on one chakra per month. And there's a lot of homework and discussion around the practices of each chakra. So it's like a chakra sadhana per month. And it's a 7-8 month course. And I would love to offer that again. And that's how I could really, really get into this. So speaking of courses, I just want you to know a couple of things. So Tarot-thon is coming up on Sunday. I'm pretty sure I have a banner for Tarot-thon. And During Tarothon, my topic is bring back the significator. Using significators in tarot readings is a really old school practice. It's something I learned when I was learning to read tarot. I abandoned very quickly, and not too long ago decided that I was going to bring the significator back in a new and a different and expanded way. And so on Sunday, I'm going to be talking about how I use significators. And then on Wednesday, June 2nd, I'm going to do another offering of my class, which is called Read With Me 2. It's in the shop on my website. And Read With Me 2, Gerald has taken this class before, talks about not just using significators, but building a scene, understanding the scene of your life, the setting of your life, so that the plot makes more sense. And if we understand the background of what's going on, then we're better able to understand the movement through the background. And this is a 4-week class where we talk about tarot, and I could call it tarot and timing, but it's so much more than predictive reading. It's about understanding the natural cycles and seasons of the year so that our readings make so much more sense. Okay, so this is interesting to you. Make sure to tune in on Sunday or watch the playback, and then you can sign up for the course, right? It starts on Wednesday, June 2nd, and it does have playbacks if you can't attend all of the classes live. So yeah, it's a really good, it's one of my favorite classes, actually. I love this topic. So, all right, I'm just going to check in with the chat, and then I will leave you for today. See how we are. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Vanishka. Thanks, Gerald, for that. Yes, and I am really excited about Sunday. I'm going to try to attend as many of the classes as I can. Hello, Swan. I didn't see you in the chat earlier, so thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm going to try to be in as many of the chats as possible, and I'm actually really excited about meeting new people. I think Tarathon is a great place to meet new people and meet new people in the chat, as well as meet new TarotTube channels. So yeah. So thanks for being here today. A little bit long today. I will put the post up for next week, and keep putting your requests in, okay, for what combinations you want to discuss, and I will add it to my list. All right. Stay well, and I'll see some of you soon at 12 noon. Namaste.